You know, look at these legs. Nobody's in a final. Nobody's in a final here at these championships. But, you know, I can understand why Wisconsin there. It's because of this guy. He's the best miler in the country, Oliver Hoyer. They are definitely going to be a factor. I thought he was going to run the mile at the end, but my guess is he's going to run. He's going to, from the looks of it, he'll run the 1,200 meters at the beginning. Morgan McDonald will run the mile at the end. These lineups are sure to shuffle. To his right, our left, you see Texas there. They're going to be a factor. Sam Worley will run the anchor. Don't count out Oregon. They got so much depth, but the one thing that they are missing is a really fantastic 800-meter runner here. Question is, can Notre Dame stay in the race in the first 3 legs to give their fresh miler, Yared Nuguse, a chance to win it at the end for them?
All right, we're showing you the teams. These 12 teams that are in the race: Notre Dame, Georgetown, Indiana, Arkansas, Illinois, Wisconsin, Texas, Oregon, Washington, Iowa State, Ole Miss, and Stanford. And it is definitely Oliver Hoyer who is eventually slated here to run the final 1,600-meter leg. He is running the 1,200-meter leg to give Morgan McDonald an extra 5 minutes, 6 minutes to rest from that 5,000.
Well, that's Texas up front. Alex Rogers, the senior, will handle the 1,200-meter duties. And what you don't want this race to be is, you don't want teams to take it easy and then everybody have that mile and have it be decided in the mile. I'd love to see these guys really get out there and challenge. You know, Notre Dame, they just ran like such a team all season long, won some really big races and came away with that national record.
Well, Alex Rogers is not playing. 55-2 opening 400, and the only one that's staying even close to him is Festus Legat of Iowa State. There's a big gap back to third, probably 10 to 12 meters back to third place.
Well, all these teams have to know that there's some of the best milers in the country are going to close off. So one of these teams has to take a chance. Let's get a big lead in the 12. Let our 400-meter runner do what they do and try to get a little bit of a lead, because you don't want to have to try to run down Grant Fisher. You don't want to have to try to run down Morgan McDonald or Yared Nuguse.
For Ole Miss, that is Walid. No, it's not Walid Suleiman, obviously. They've had a change up in their lineup as well, but Ole Miss is third. 58-3, a little bit more in keeping with what you would expect on the second 400, but no let up so far really in Alex Rogers. That's Cade Bethman for Ole Miss, not even on the list of people slated to run. Of course, they've got lots of guys to throw at a distance medley relay from down there in Oxford. Connie Price-Smith doing a great job with that program. A lot of good middle distance folks down there at Ole Miss.
Well, we saw her in the lobby before we came over to the meet, and we said, your DMR going to get it done? And as a former thrower, she's like, I don't know. She's a head coach now, but I still don't know what she still thinks she doesn't know what to say to her distance runners.
Okay, that Festus Legat makes a move for the Cyclones and is going to let his team hand off first with a big gap. It's an excellent opening leg for Iowa State, followed by Texas, then Ole Miss. Oh man, that's a major shoving there. That was completely uncalled for. I'm waiting for a flag on that. Oregon guy just got shoved by, let me see if I can identify who that is. I got my eye on him.
Well, for Oregon in this 400-meter leg, who just moved into second, that's Jacob Miller. And for Texas, running the 400-meter leg, Terry Brown Jr. Stanford's trying to stay in it. Ole Miss is trying to stay in it. Wisconsin is still there, but a big lead for the Cyclones.
Well, they certainly didn't lose anything there, maybe even gained something. Texas back into second. This guy knocks his own. This guy's just a linebacker here. He's just knocking people over all over the place. 46-8 on that 400 leg for Iowa State. Iowa State with a huge lead. It's got to be, what, 25 meters? 30 meters.
Well, this pack, This pack in second position there, they've got to close the gap just a little bit. Not even the best milers in the country, best distance runners in the country are going to be able to overcome this lead. It's 50 meters now.
51.1 opening 400 meters of this 800. But that 1,600 meters I've found, Dano, it's just the great equalizer. It almost just doesn't matter a gap like this if you got a miler that can crank it out.
And pacing in the wings, I see Grant Fisher getting ready to go. I'm trying to spot the Wisconsin anchor, and I haven't seen him yet. But Wisconsin's trying to make a move on the outside with Eric Brown.
Okay, Cyclones hand off with at least a 40-45 meter advantage. Well, it is not McDonald. That's not their anchor. They didn't bring him back. I couldn't have believed that he would do that.
But look who's moved into second position now. Green top, white bottoms. That's the Irish. Your NCAA leader most of this indoor season. That's Yared Nuguse. He's fresh. A lot of these guys have run races today, 800 meters and the mile. There's Sam Worley in the back of that pack from Texas. But Yared Nuguse is going to slowly try to chip away at this huge lead. And right behind him from Indiana, that's Kyle Mao. We saw him earlier in the mile.
For Roshan Rooms, the junior from Iowa State, 1:48 flat. But that gap is narrowing.
It certainly is, and there you see in the crimson top, baton in his right hand, that's Grant Fisher. He's trying to move up the Cardinal. He takes over third position, and he's behind Yared Nuguse and Notre Dame. This is a great spot for Notre Dame right now.
Well, they have cut down the gap in a huge way. Dan Kurtz has let at least 60% of his lead dissipate. Now, he may know something we don't know, but he's sort of out there jogging. But Nuguse has now cut it to 5 meters.
Well, Nuguse, just a fantastic athlete, just a sophomore. He won the ACC championships in the mile. He backed off and ran 3:57, literally all by himself. Won the race by 6 seconds. Could have gone a little faster, but absolutely didn't need to. Right behind him, Grant Fisher, trying to do a little something here.
Well, this is setting up as a great last couple of laps between Nuguse and Fisher for the title. It's Iowa State, followed by Notre Dame, then Stanford, then Indiana, Oregon, and Arkansas. Sam Worley, the Texas anchor, is definitely hurting from having to come back from his earlier race in the mile where he qualified.
I like the looks of Oregon right now. They're so deep at this particular distance. They got a very, very deep bench. But there goes Nuguse out to the lead.
Cooper Tier for Oregon, currently in 6th with 2 laps remaining.
Oh, watch Grant Fisher. He just looks fresh.
I've seen him do this.
Did a lot of work.
Seen him do this in cross country. The same exact thing. He just stalks and stalks and stalks and then gets himself in position. Nuguse has done a heck of a lot of work. And now that he's slowing things down, he's letting a lot of teams back in this race. There goes Fisher with a lap and a quarter to go, coming up to the bell. It's Stanford, followed by Notre Dame. And Nuguse may have a little bit left in the tank. Indiana also right there.
Well, Grant Fisher certainly has the experience, but Nuguse has more speed. Kyle Mao has more speed.
Fisher, Nuguse, Mao. I don't think when Fisher gets the lead this late that anybody catches him. Here comes Nuguse. I'm wrong. Notre Dame wins it, followed by Stanford. Then Georgetown and Indiana. You don't see somebody catch Grant Fisher like that very often.
Well, what a year it's been for the Irish in the distance medley relay. Yared Nuguse, he could have come here and run the open mile. He could have easily qualified for the finals. He sits it out for the team, and they come away with an NCAA title.
Fisher don't think could have run it any better as far as from a tactical standpoint.
Well, both guys were pretty tired. They just had so far to go to catch the leaders, but this was a great move by Grant Fisher. We'll see him back tomorrow in the 3,000 meters going head to head with Morgan McDonald. But this is what Yared Nuguse does so well. He's run down Oliver Hoare. He's run down Morgan McDonald. There he runs down Grant Fisher.
Well, Nuguse definitely went with him when he made the move. Mao was right there as well with a lap to go. And it just became whoever had the better sprint. But I will tell you, Grant Fisher ran 3:54.24 on his leg. Nuguse 3:56.03. And Notre Dame just holds off Stanford, even though they ran more than 5 seconds slower than their season leading time. That's still enough to give them the title. The Irish win the final event of the night, the distance medley relay. There downstairs with John.
It was a goosebump moment courtesy of the Fighting Irish. And honestly, the first 3 legs were terrific, but I don't want to talk about them. I want to know your reaction watching the last lap of the last leg.
Just yell. I mean, when you got a guy like that on the anchor, I mean, it's just amazing. I don't know what else to do than yell. That's all.
He came off the final corner. What'd you think?
I was speechless. It took a huge effort for us. We just knew we had to get it within striking distance for him, and he'd take care of it. So it was a great experience.
And you watch him, it's not a great viewing point to see the finish, right? What'd you think when he came across the line?
I mean, I was surprised. I see Yared do that day in, day out in practice. And we get yelled at for not staying up with him. And we're like, what can we do? This kid's amazing. So we knew that right when we handed off that Yared could do anything, and we weren't surprised by that.
All right, listen, you had Fisher. That was a tough go over your mile. At what point did you decide, now's when I got to go?
Well, from the beginning, I knew I had to catch up to the Iowa State guy if I wanted like any chance. I knew if I just let him go, that I wasn't going to win. So I went for that head on. Then I kind of tried to chill back a bit after what I just did, and then when Grant passed me, he's a really good runner. He really gave me a run for my money. But it's when I'm doing it for my team out there, I can't help but give it everything I have, and that was enough to win today.
So was the decision for this as opposed to the open mile easy, hard? What was it?
It was easy for me. Probably hard for some people to hear, but for me, this DMR has been more important to me than any individual race ever has been, and I just really wanted to go out here and give it my absolute all, and I knew I couldn't do that with the prelim. So, yeah, it was an easy choice for me.
DMR champs, Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they have a great fight song on top of that.
Okay, so that's what collegiate